Now imagine a world infested with a disease where people are slowly turning into rust and think it's the cause of a man spreading it through growing mushrooms. But they're all mistaken, unfortunately, because he's in fact a hero trying to save everyone. This video here will recap the entire anime called Rust Eater Bisco, which aired back in the winter season of 2022. If you enjoyed the video, then please drop a like, show me if you really want more of this type of content. And don't forget to also subscribe to stay up to date with the latest anime news and recommendations right at your doorstep. Without wasting any of your time, let us begin with the recap. Stories are going around on how people have been, just dying from the rust disease spread by mushrooms, turning people into rust until they die. However, a young doctor by the name of MILO examines a patient with this mysterious disease, and doctors are quite rare, making him a main priority as he is also trying to find a cure for this rust disease. MILO needed to, just get back to his sister, who is actually a fighter and is also trying to solve the mystery behind the disease. After hearing some news about the recent incidents that happened, it could have been the same criminal who was responsible for this mess. MILO bought these mushrooms from a vendor to try and transform them into some sort of a cure to slow down the rust process, that his sister is facing. We then meet a man named KUROKAWA, leader of an organization to stop the rust disease and hunt down Bisco, and actually offered MILO a job to work alongside him to earn lots of money in the hopes of maybe even getting a rust treatment. Suddenly, an arrow shot by Bisco landed in between them, disrupting the deal being made as mushrooms started to grow. Now we go back to the border gate. A mysterious monk is carrying a wagon, but the question is, what is inside? The officer at the border wanted to check what his luggage is, but he said it was just dead people, but he still wanted to check it just to make sure it's not suspicious. After Bisco somehow convinced them not to check the wagon, the gate opened for the monk to pass, but the officer quickly notices on his back a bow and arrow, and as his weapon, which is actually illegal to use. MILO's sister suddenly leaves to get on her urgent mission on finding the man-eater. MILO is trying to find and fix a cure, and at that moment, Bisco, the man-eater, appeared right behind him. Before all that, however, happened, we took a small step back and moved back to the border. The monk had his cover blown because the officer realized something just wasn't quite right. Upon taking a shot at the mysterious monk, his bandages came off, revealing it was Bisco in disguise. He shoots an arrow at the gate, causing a massive explosion. In present time, apparently Bisco has been looking for a doctor for a while since his friend was sick from the rust and required treatment, and that is why he is here with MILO in hopes of asking for treatment. Outside the clinic, however, Bisco was surrounded by the organization hunting him down and asked him to surrender, but took MILO as hostage and his partner JABI to run away. We then learn through a little bit of a flashback that Bisco and JABI use a crab to, as their mount to move around faster on these lands, which is pretty cool, and fought hippos with machine guns, which is so badass. In present time, Bisco is trying to get away from the organization as he shoots mushroom trials, while Kurokawa's men try to engage Bisco and stop him once and for all. We also proceed to meet TIROL, a member of the organization, where she failed to stop Bisco because he is no ordinary man. He orders her to fight Bisco and hunt him down with a plane he offered to give her in exchange to go and find him. Earlier that day, JABI was getting worse due to his condition and told Bisco that he needed to find the legendary Rust Eater, a mushroom that was said to devour and consume rust and could potentially stop this disease and save humanity. They were even attacked that day when JABI protected Bisco from getting shot, and in the present day, MILO is operating on JABI to save him and was very surprised to see him that he is still alive. While MILO operates on JABI, Bisco left to, just to buy some time and distract the forces and proceed to fight TIROL, whom he defeats afterwards, and MILO's sister steps into the action with her bike as she begins her battle with Bisco. MILO then transfuses blood to JABI, surprised that he is still alive, until he finally introduces himself as Bisco's mentor. Bisco and Pao fight and their skills impress each other. Bisco is surprised that she can still move that well given by how bad her rusting is. Pao gets annoyed, blaming him for spreading the rust, but Bisco states that the mushrooms don't spread the rust but grow by consuming it. She refuses to believe that that's true and told him why he doesn't save Japan if that is the case. Bisco can't do that, however, because of people like her. Many accuse Bisco of the rust, that it's all his fault for spreading it with the mushrooms, when he is in fact trying to save humanity. There is a legendary mushroom born from the prayers of a dying hero and is able to completely absorb even the deepest rust, be it from a man or even a machine, and that is what Bisco is trying to find. After Bisco and Pao's fight, MILO wanted to accompany Bisco in search of the legendary Rust Eater and not to miss out on an adventure of a lifetime. Bisco explains that he has a plan to get to the Rust Eater, and that is to use the mines as a shortcut. Later on, they meet TIROL nearby, who actually attempts to steal the giant crab from them to have her escape, but fails to do so. TIROL was then found to be choking on something, in which MILO helped to, pull out a giant worm. I can't begin to describe how disgusting that was, by the way. Apparently, these worms were given to every force from the organization to prevent them from running away or escaping. They always, used to get some medication to suppress these worms from hatching, and luckily, they found TIROL in time before she could have choked to death. TIROL then leaves the next day on her own, taking Bisco's money, but leaves them food in exchange. They all leave the next morning to then suddenly run into a little bit of trouble. Some kids held them up and thought that they are kidnappers, but then Bisco told them they had to pass through this area to get to their destination. However, food is scarce here in Calvero, but that is until Bisco revealed his wanted poster stating that anyone who takes him in will get this huge sum of money. And so, Bisco decided to turn himself in. Meanwhile, for Pao, she encounters a giant spider and had to kill it because, it was actually a trap set for bandits. MILO discovers that the kids or residents in the town are here. They are all infected with rust and medicine is very expensive. At the couple's place, they explain that the town suffered a mass outbreak of rusting and it was wiped out. The man blames a mushroom keeper who came to town and, at first used mushroom to treat illness. At first it worked, but soon people started dying and they saw that all dead were covered in rust. The remaining survivors ran, but eventually only the couple remained. The mushroom keeper found them and thanked them, stating that the experiment was worthwhile. Pao gets convinced even more that the mushroom keepers are spreading rust. Man, the story just keeps getting interesting and interesting. MILO has managed to heal many people in the town, and many people were so thankful that he managed to do something so generous. That is until the town was suddenly under attack. Due to abnormal weather, blowfish started invading the town. Bisco broke out of his chains and began helping the citizens, shooting arrows at the blowfish for mushrooms to grow on their bodies to prevent them from flying. Eventually, he saves the town and Bisco receives a new weapon, which is a harpoon, as a thank you bonus. The very next day, Bisco and MILO continue their journey north where they reach land covered in snow. Freezing cold weather. They hop on the giant crab and traverse the icy terrain until they stumbled across TIROL, who was frozen solid on ice. They ended up helping her until she had to, part ways once again. MILO found a book about different species. It was drawn by Rust Eaters with their unique style of art, and MILO was interested in capturing what was known as a pipe snake. Until they got attacked by an oil squad with their leader and were then defeated by Bisco quite easily after a surprise attack. They later on find themselves in a ravine where they noticed a giant pipe snake emerge. Bisco tries shooting it and nothing happens, and then suddenly Pao appears and heads towards Bisco. And then right there, right at that moment, at the scene, she is there to save her brother MILO since she believes Bisco somehow manipulated him, and upon trying to engage Bisco, she was captured by the pipe snake, trapped and needed a rescue. It was a heated battle, unlike anything they faced. This large reptile was then killed later on, and they managed to save Pao. Rust Eater mushrooms then suddenly began to, to grow and appearing on the snake, but apparently it was the wrong kind, and Bisco had to look for another snake with the correct mushroom. Suddenly, something was glowing. If the mushrooms apparently come in contact with the mushroom eater's blood, the mushroom will activate its rusting power. KUROKAWA and his crew then appear at the scene as they have managed to track down the man-eater. Bisco shoots an arrow at the aircraft to slow it down, but didn't seem to really work at all. KUROKAWA was actually after the snake, hence why it was roped and flies away with it. Later on, after a fight with MILO and Bisco took place privately, MILO made up his mind that he swears to protect Bisco no matter what happens. MILO then leaves Bisco to save his captured friends, and upon arriving at the base, KUROKAWA had Pao held hostage. He's after the secret of the Rust Eater and will kill his sister in exactly 1 week if the secret and Bisco was not in his hands. MILO then uses some kind of trickery from the mushrooms, putting people to sleep, only leaving KUROKAWA on his own. With a knife pointing at him covered in poison, MILO demands his friends to be released immediately. KUROKAWA reveals that he has no interest in the effects of the Rust Eater, but wishes to monopolize it. Currently, the government and KUROKAWA are making money from the medicine that helps with rusting. If a new medicine comes out that can fully heal people, then he won't be able to make money at all. But with the new medicine, he could become even more powerful than the central government itself. JABI was in his cell but managed to actually escape with a little trick up his sleeve. Bisco and KUROKAWA come face to face together finally. It could possibly be the time to end this mess. MILO was about to shoot an arrow at Bisco's head, but with trust between them, Bisco actually allowed that to happen, but surprisingly caught the arrow with his mouth or teeth and threw it right back at KUROKAWA, piercing his eye. JABI injects MILO with an antidote, revealing he has also managed to save his sister, and tells MILO to take Bisco and get out of here before something bad happens, and so he makes haste with Bisco in his arms. KUROKAWA managed to capture JABI once more, and this time he shares a glimpse of his terrifying plan to utilize TETSUJIN, the very same defensive weapon that covered all of Japan in the Rust Wind. He even asks JABI to join his forces, but gladly he refuses and headbutts him in exchange. It truly feels like no one can stop KUROKAWA at this point, and yet at this very moment, JABI feels that despair in him. KUROKAWA's plans were nicely coming together into creating rust bullets. He gives one of his men a knife, telling him to kill JABI, but what happened instead was that the same man who had the knife stabbed KUROKAWA in the foot, and unmasked a few moments later, it was Bisco who returned to save his mentor. JABI must destroy the cannon but encounter a gorilla, in which Pao came to, assist and defeat it. Bisco's eye was actually injured as KUROKAWA mocked him that he won't be able to use a bow anymore because of his injury, and nothing can be done to stop his plans this time. However, Bisco attacks KUROKAWA, injuring his own arm, and MILO comes to assist, slicing KUROKAWA's arm until later KUROKAWA fell into the boiling rust to die. Bisco, however, also falls in to meet the same fate, and asked MILO to kill him so that it's not the rust that does it. His wish came true, granted, and the boiling rust absorbed Bisco's remains. Pao and JABI are fighting gorillas outside of the base, and she wonders where the hell Bisco and MILO were until she saw her brother come out alone, wondering where Bisco is, until MILO revealed he died a hero. Suddenly, a strange being known as a TETSUJIN was revived in the battlefield and ready to battle them. MILO goes after the TETSUJIN as he is the only one injected with the rust cure. The TETSUJIN reaches the trader's camp that MILO and Bisco visited previously. MILO catches up with the TETSUJIN and injects himself, imitating Bisco's voice and calling the TETSUJIN KUROKAWA, stating that just because, he got a bigger body and a stronger looking, mighty force and guns and shit, doesn't mean that he won't be able to send him to hell again. The TETSUJIN was on the verge of defeat thanks to the traders that joined to help MILO. However, it shoots out a very large attack to the sky, causing JABI and MILO to fall from the cliff. The powerful revived TETSUJIN destroys city after city as it advances. First, it destroys the town that Nuts lives in. At this rate, Japan will once again be enveloped in rust. Yet after inheriting the spirit of Bisco after his death, MILO bravely stands up against TETSUJIN, acting as if he were Bisco himself. He saves Nuts from a near-death experience, mocking the TETSUJIN to fight him instead. The TETSUJIN then makes another stop to fire a large blast at the Escargot fighters, turning them all into rust. The people are getting evacuated. The approaching TETSUJIN is shown on TV, and the people witness MILO challenging the TETSUJIN and fighting him again. MILO suffers some injuries and barely stands, but still continues to fight bravely. He managed to even get on the TETSUJIN and starts stabbing its back repeatedly, causing pain to the TETSUJIN. As he stabs him, he uncovers something. It was Bisco's glasses. And then, Bisco suddenly comes out of the stab wound, fully healed and regrown hand, prepares himself to fight the TETSUJIN as his final battle is about to begin. Bisco is feeling overwhelming with power inside of him as he begins to shoot an arrow to face the TETSUJIN alongside MILO, and TIROL came by to warn them that the TETSUJIN will self-destruct, as he gets more hurt and hurt, which will create a crater like in the past, and they didn't really want that to happen in this place once again. Pao came by and helped as she kissed Bisco, stating that she wants him if she returns back alive, as a thank you for all the things that he has done so far. KUROKAWA's body was still inside the TETSUJIN's exoskeleton armor and had to be broken to reveal the operator, as killing the operator will definitely put a stop to the TETSUJIN completely. It was a heated battle as all the members fought well and hard to stop this killing machine from causing anyone harm to the world itself, and afterwards they managed to defeat it. They managed to obtain a mountain of Rust Eaters, and with this, they will hopefully be able to save Japan finally. Pao became the new governor. MILO and Bisco now embark on a brand new journey together. It may be a long one, but it's definitely worth it. And then finally, a picture was taken of them both before they leave and was placed on the officer's desk at the gate border, and that is where the story comes to an end. Thank you all for sticking by and watching the full recap to Rust Eater Bisco. If you did enjoy it, then please drop a like if you want to see more anime recaps, and as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next one.